Welcome to the Mama Fit YouTube channel. Today's workout, we're going to be doing a 15-minute pelvic floor relaxation workout and pelvic mobility workout using a foam roller. So once you've got your foam roller, let's go ahead and get started with today's mobility workout. So we're going to start on our back and we're going to place our hips onto the foam roller. And so this is going to bring your hips into a bit of elevation. So you might just need to play around exactly where it's at. And then we're just going to pull our legs to our chest, or you can do more of a happy baby position where you're grabbing onto each foot. So you can just kind of play around to what feels more comfortable for you. In this rounded position, I'm going to think big inhale into my back. And then exhale to think pull belly to spine. And you may find that it brings you into a little bit more of a tuck. And same thing, you can hold your feet, which is going to emphasize a little bit more external rotation. We're going to think big inhale. Maybe drive the feet more towards the floor. And so just explore what feels better for you. We're just doing an anti-gravity position, which takes off some of the activation and some of the effort of your pelvic floor, which can sometimes help it to kind of let go and to release. So we're just taking some deep breaths. And just breathing here into our back and lifting up into the front. Now, holding the right knee into the chest, we're going to fully extend the left leg. And now, depending on how tight your hip flexors are, your foot may not touch the floor, and we're just kind of going to let it dangle to feel more of a stretch in the front side of the hip. And then big inhale into your back. And then exhale, just release and let go. And maybe that foot drops just a little bit more. So we're holding here for a minute, and then we'll do the other side, feeling more of that hip flexor release. We tend to favor more extension throughout our day just because that's how we walk, that's how we move. And so when we favor a lot of extension, sometimes it can cause this balance or imbalance within the musculature tension. And so we finding that more rounded position kind of releases some of that tension in the back side of the body. And we also might have a little bit of tension in those hip flexors. And so this kind of the combination of the two could help us kind of reset our pelvic position and tension within the pelvic floor. Let's go ahead and switch to the other leg now. So holding onto that left leg, letting the right leg just kind of drop. Again, it might not touch the floor, it might touch the floor. And we're thinking big inhale in. And then exhale, just release and let go. And then maybe with that exhale, that foot drops down just a little bit more. After this side, we're going to move into a tabletop position, and we're going to do both sides of a front and back quadrant pelvic floor release. And so we're just going to kind of gradually get more onto our feet. And so it's going to get more and more active with our release strategies. So go ahead and remove that foam roller, and now we're going to come into a tabletop position. To start, we're going to be in tabletop, and the foam roller is going to be perpendicular to us. And so I don't want it to roll around too much. I'm going to put weight, the foam roller by my knee, and then I'm going to shift my weight over towards that elevated hip, and then find a slight round in my back. And so we're finding a all fours hip shift. So I've shifted over, find a slight round. Maybe you drop down to that opposite side forearm, so my right side forearm, or you can just kind of bring the hand a little bit more towards that side. But I want to feel a little bit more of a glute stretch here. And now for myself and for a lot of our clients, you may not feel a ton. And that's okay. If you don't feel a ton, I want you to press through the knee that's on the floor, so the lower knee, and you're going to push yourself into that elevated hip more. And that activation can kind of force this hip into a more closed position to bring you deeper into this hip pocket. And then think just slight round, big inhale into the back, exhale belly to spine. Now we're gonna flip so that the foam roller is now to our side. I'm gonna bring my toe inside, knee is outside, and then I'm just gonna let that leg slide out and then drop down to that same side forearm. So I have a bit of a twist. And now I'm feeling a lot of a groin and inner thigh stretch here. So just shifting away, maybe I let the foam roller kind of roll out a little bit more. But my torso and my pelvis is rotated towards the knee that's down on the floor. But I feel more sensation in the foam roller leg. So this is going to be targeting the front part of the pelvic floor a little bit more, so more of that groin, inner thigh area, while the first movement was targeting more of the back half of it. So you can kind of shift around a little until you feel more intensity in the groin. And now we're gonna switch to that opposite side. So again, foam roller is perpendicular. I'm gonna place the knee on it and then shift my weight over so that most of my weight is in this elevated hip. So shifting over, and then if you want, we're gonna just kind of twist the upper body a little bit more towards the foam roller. And then if you're like, I don't really feel much sensation in that hip pocket, I want you to think push through the knee that's on the floor. So I'm kind of like driving through that knee to bring me deeper into this side, and then think just slight tuck underneath. And so the goal is to feel kind of a stretching sensation in this hip pocket. So if I was wearing jeans, where I'd put my hands in my jeans pocket. And then just pay attention to how this side felt compared to the other side. Does it feel easier to shift over here? Do you feel restricted maybe in the front side of the hip as you shift over? Do you feel more sensation in like the glute? And now we're gonna come to that lateral hip shift again. So knees on the outside, ankles on the inside. You're gonna drop down, oops. And then I'm just gonna roll that leg out. So I'm feeling more of a stretching sensation in the foam roller, inner thigh, and groin. I'm thinking trying to bring my foam roller hip towards my floor knee. So like this hip, I'm trying to drive towards that knee. And then just pay attention, does this side feel more intense for you? Does it feel less intense? Do you feel more relief from this side? Because for a lot of us, that right anterior pelvic floor is a little bit tighter compared to the left anterior pelvic floor. So for me, I feel the right side so much more than my left. Let's go ahead and release, and now we're gonna do the standing variations. And so again, I want you to explore how does this feel on each side in your body. So we're gonna start by pressing that foam roller into the wall and the inside of your left knee. Right foot will step forward, and then I want you to think about pushing that right hip back as you kind of rotate in the hip. So if your hands are on your hips, as you kind of hinge backwards, that right hand is gonna come forward as that right knee kind of drives forward. So I'm pressing hard into that left knee, and then I'm thinking drive that right hip forward, and I'm gonna feel a lot more sensation kind of in this hip area on the left side, and think just slight tuck underneath. And then you may just kind of have to play around with like where exactly you put more weight, but lots of weight in that left big toe. I'm thinking, trying to twist on top of that left leg to bring the pelvis closer to find more of a closed hip position. So again, trying to feel a lot of sensation in this hip pocket here. And now we're going to step over. So I'm going to step that right foot behind to face towards the wall, and then step back into that hip shift. So I'm stepping over to face the wall and then step back. So we're starting to add in some of that pelvic mobility and ability to change positions. And so we have normal postural tendencies. So sometimes there's certain ways that we like to stand and to move our bodies. And we have normal asymmetry within our bodies. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong though. Like our organs are not perfectly symmetrical, our diaphragm is not perfectly symmetrical. So of course the way that we stand and move our body would not be perfectly symmetrical. But we can sometimes have pelvic pain or pelvic floor issues or just discomfort because of sinking too deeply into the asymmetry and not being able to change positions. So now we're gonna find a hip airplane, lift that right leg up into the sky or to the wall behind you. We're gonna twist to find more of a glute stretch and then rotate towards the wall to feel more of a groin stretch and just kind of rotating back and forth. And so with the asymmetry, sometimes we sink too deeply in it. And when we sink too deeply in it, sometimes it makes it really hard for us to change positions. And when we can't shift our weight into our left leg, shift out of the right leg, this is where we see more discomfort. This is where we start to have an imbalance within pelvic floor tension, an imbalance within the supporting musculature. So the first exercises that we did focused on releasing tension just in general within the pelvic floor, releasing tension in the back and the hip flexors that we tend to be more shortened. And in 3 seconds, we're gonna switch to the right side. So go ahead, face the other direction. Right leg is gonna press into the foam roller, and we're gonna start with those hip shifts. So left leg is gonna step in front, and we're gonna be thinking about driving that right hip forward, or the left hip forward, that left knee forward, and we're shifting our weight into the right leg. So lots of weight in the right big toe. Left hip comes forward, right hip kind of draws back. You can put your hands on your hips to feel that, or see and feel that rotation. And then I'm just gonna kind of sink a little bit deeper, maybe find a little bit more bend in that right leg, and just explore it within my body. And then compare, did it feel easier to come onto this side versus the other? And so these static positions are great to releasing the tension. So the first two that we did released common areas of tension in the back and the hip flexors. The next two movements that we did were static releases, targeting the back half of the pelvic floor with the hip shift, and then the front half of the pelvic floor with the lateral hip shift. And now we're focusing on the back half in a more isometric hold, standing, so a lot more activation. You might feel it more than the all fours. And then we're gonna move into two pelvic mobility. So how well can we change pelvic position? So go ahead and do your step overs. So this is essentially like a less intense version of those hip airplanes, but I want my pelvis to be moving on my femur. So I'm stepping forward. My pelvis is rotating more internal to the femur. Stepping back, my pelvis is rotating more external to the femur. And we want to be able to change that position. Again, this is what's gonna help to improve your comfort. This is gonna help to improve your pelvic floor's function. It improves the balance and the tension. And so we're not trying to find perfect position or neutral positions. What we're trying to improve is our ability to find and change positions. And I know I sound like a broken record, but that's what's gonna help you feel good within your body and within your pelvic floor, is changing positions and being able to find a variety of them. So let's find those hip airplanes on this side, so face towards the wall, and then twist to find our closed hip position, so more of a deep glute stretch. We open up, more of a groin stretch. We close, more of a glute stretch. So I find my open and my closed, and it's my pelvis that is rotating on top of the femur. So starting with exercises that were more isometric holds to release the tension, and now we're moving through exercises that help us to move into changed positions. Go ahead and release that foam roller, and this concludes our pelvic floor release and pelvic mobility workout using a foam roller. And so like I said, we were focusing on releasing common areas of tension with more asymmetricals, more restorative positions, and then we gradually increase the activation by going from supine to all fours to standing, eventually progressing towards being able to change positions while feeling different stretching sensations. Being able to release uneven areas of tension and to improve how well your pelvis can change positions is going to really help to support your pelvic floor's function. So thanks so much for working out with me today, moving through all of these different pelvic floor release exercises. If you want more workouts to help support your pelvic floor's function and balance and relaxation, check out our online prenatal fitness programs, online postpartum return to fitness programs, and our beyond postpartum women's strength programming. We incorporate pelvic floor specific work in all of those programs to not only help to strengthen your pelvic floor, but also to help relax and release it, in addition to improve your mobility, which is really what's going to help to support your comfort throughout the entirety of this perinatal time frame. You can check out all of our fitness programs on our website at mamastayfit.com and use code YouTube10 to get 10% off any of our online offerings. And then if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Our goal is to reach 100,000 subscribers, which we're pretty far away from that. But if you subscribe and then 10 of your friends subscribe and then they tell 10 of their friends, I'm sure we'll get there in no time. But be sure to subscribe to the channel because we release new videos every Tuesday to help support you with your workouts and new educational videos every Wednesday.